Great to see you all this morning. Thank you all for being here. It's exciting to see so many folks who are ready to learn about housing options for our current and former foster youth. My name is Megan Maddock. I'm a project manager with John Burton Advocates for Youth, and I'll be helping to facilitate the conversation today. And we're here, like I mentioned, to talk about how to connect our current and former foster youth in Los Angeles County with housing options. I know this is something that you all manage on a day-to-day basis, and glad to be here in community and in discussion around this important topic. So just to do some housekeeping, my screen not working. My PowerPoint has decided that it's just not doesn't want to move forward.
I can always share mine if there's an issue. Want me to try?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead. It's frozen on me. But just to take care of some housekeeping along the way. So the training is recorded. So we'll be sending out a recording of this training by the end of the week, along with the slides. So don't worry about keeping too many of those notes. You'll get the content, you'll get the slides by the end of the week. We have quite a few participants in this training today. So if you can keep yourself on mute, that would be great, just so that we don't disturb other folks who are listening in or the presenter. If you do have a question, please use the chat function. You're also welcome to raise your hand on Zoom as well, and we'll be keeping an eye out for folks who are asking questions and monitoring the chat. Jessica, were you able to share your slides? Oh, thank you so much. Classic Zoom behavior in that it doesn't want to work exactly when we need it to. So we're on slide 3. So today we're going to be kind of jumping in just in terms of our agenda. We've got a lot to talk about. We will be welcoming our presenters and sharing a little bit about what who we are. We'll be talking about why we're here today. I mean, I think we all know the experience of looking for housing for our young people and our students, and we'll be talking a little bit more about kind of why that's so important. We'll be hearing from our amazing partners at DCFS, Supportive Housing, and the Independent Living Program about the services and supports that they offer to current and former foster youth. We'll also be hearing from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, just in terms of what they offer out in the community as well. So a range of resources and supports that are available to you as you do your day-to-day work with young people. And because we're here today together, we also wanted to offer some opportunities for us to network and get to know each other. So there'll be a couple of breakout sessions within this training where we're going to be able to connect with people who are working in the same geographic area as us. So you'll be able to meet the colleges, the ILP team who are working within your community, and to help kind of facilitate, continue to build those key relationships that you need to be able to find these resources, connect to these resources, and support your young people. All right.
PowerPoint's doing funny things too.
I know it's
amazing. Okay.
Thank you for managing it. Well, let's jump into intros. Again, I introduced myself. I'm Megan Maddock. I'm a project manager at John Burton Advocates for Youth. And I'd love to turn it over first to our supportive housing partners at DCFS. Claudia and Olga, if you want to take a moment to introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Claudia Bustillos. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and ella, and I am a supervisor in the Supportive Housing Division.
Hello, good morning. My name is Olga Flores, and I'm also a supervisor here at the Housing Division.
Wonderful. And I'd like to pass it over to Erica and Jill to introduce themselves with ILP.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Pollard. I am one of the directors of the Independent Living Program with DCFS.
Oh, Jill, I think you're on mute there.
Okay, hi. Good morning. I'm Jill Franklin, and I am one of the program managers at DCFS Independent Living Program, ILP.
Thanks, Jill. And I mentioned I introduced myself, but I'll let Jessica introduce herself. And thank you, Jessica, for managing the Zoom this morning.
I'm the attempted tech support today, but great to see you all today. I'm Jessica Petros. I'm our Director of Education here at JBay.
Thanks, Jessica. And last but not least, I'd like to pass it over to Chris with LASA.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Christiane, she mispronounced, UCS manager here at LASA. I work really closely with our Connect LA team, our campus peer navigators, and been providing a lot of support as well to our DCS probation system liaisons.
Great, thank you all. It's exciting to have you all here and to continue to collaborate with you. We all work very closely together, so it's fun, and it's fun to be in this space. I also want to acknowledge that we've got some other important folks in our audience today, and we can go to the next slide if we can. We've got folks who are from the ILP team here as well. We also have supportive housing staff in the audience. We also have LASA staff and LASA contracted agencies in the audience as well. I also want to acknowledge that we have our really important college partners in the audience as well. So we have our college foster youth support programs, including our Next Step programs at community colleges. We also have our Guardian Scholars programs, or Resilient Scholars programs, who are joining us also from community colleges, but the CSUs and the UCs. Our college foster youth support programs really do that hands-on support with young people with lived experience at the colleges. So connecting them to academic and financial support, and just overall kind of emotional and community building support for our students. We also have our basic needs centers as well. So these are the folks who are providing, food, housing, other basic needs resources to students on campus, all students, including foster youth. So we're excited to have you all here in the audience and participating in this training. You all are doing alongside us the hands-on work with students, and we're really glad to be to have you here. You can go to the next slide. And let's go to the next slide as well. So I wanted to chat with you all first about kind of what this training is about, why we're all here today. And I think that none of the things that I will share with you will be surprising, because it is things that you all as professionals in the field experience every day. So what we know is that, young people with experience in foster care struggle with housing. And a research study that was done actually by the CSU system found that students who have experience in foster care were nearly twice as likely as their student peers, to experience housing insecurity, experience homelessness. So we know that this is a big issue for the young people that we serve. We also know that the impact of housing insecurity, of homelessness on a student's academic performance is deep. Young people who are experiencing housing instability while in school, they take fewer courses, they earn fewer credits, they're less likely to graduate. So housing is an important piece of keeping a young person in school and succeeding academically. And then I think we can all appreciate that we have a very big challenge in terms of housing in Los Angeles County. It's hard to find housing. When we do, it's expensive. And so we know, in the work that we've been doing with students that this is the reality of living in a very expensive metro area, is that housing is a really difficult resource for us to get our hands on, especially for young people who are in college and who have had the experience of foster care and the experience and trauma experience that make it difficult to navigate systems. And then finally, we're here, we're all supporting the same young people in the world. These students are also clients of DCFS. They may touch the LASA system as well. And we know that the more supportive adults a young person has in the world, the more likely they are to be successful. So we're hoping that, in this space today, we can come together in this context of supporting the same young people, of navigating the same challenges, and really learn together, strengthen our relationships so we're better prepared to support our young people tomorrow. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So today, we wanted just to define who we're talking about when we're talking about current and former foster youth. So for our current foster youth, we're talking about non-minor dependents, or NMDs. You've probably heard that term, even if you're not with DCFS. And these are young people who are 18, 19, or 20 years old, and they have an open child welfare and or juvenile justice case. You may also hear them referred to as being in extended foster care or being in AB 12. Those are the AB 12 is the legislation that created extended foster care. So these are young people, young adults who are voluntarily continuing in foster care while they're still young adults, to be able to receive support and services through the county. For former foster youth, today we're focusing on young adults who are 18 to 24 who have exited out of foster care. And I know many of you, especially at the colleges, may be working with former foster youth who are older than that. And we're focusing on this age range just because that's how that's the target population that many of our housing programs are focused on. So it makes sense to talk about this window of former foster youth. I'll note too, we have probation youth up there as well. So they're also included in this discussion. Probation youth who were in out-of-home placement are eligible for extended foster care for AB 12 and have access to some of these same resources as foster youth. So we want to make sure that we uplift our probation youth as well, that they do have access to some of these same resources. All right, so we're going to do our first breakout session. I know it's early. I know we're still maybe waking up a little bit, but this will be a great opportunity to get into it. So we wanted to start this meeting with a chance just to get to know each other and discuss kind of the shared context that we're working in. So for the breakout rooms, we're going to be having about 10 minutes to discuss the questions up on the screen. So you want to share who you are, who you work for, and of what you do currently to support current or former foster youth with finding housing. What's your role? What's your day-to-day work with young people look like? And kind of what made you join the training today? What are you looking to take away? As a reminder, these breakout rooms are arranged by geography. So you'll be in the same breakout room as folks who are working in your community. If you did not indicate a region that you work in, if you perhaps serve the whole county, you were randomly assigned a breakout room. If you feel like you are not in the right breakout room, or you didn't get assigned a breakout room, just hang tight in the main room and we'll get you reassigned. And panelists, like I mentioned, you're welcome to join a breakout room if you'd like, or hang out. So let's see if the Zoom cooperates with us in terms of the breakout rooms. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and then we'll come back at at 10 o'clock. Right. So you should be invited to join a breakout room. And if you aren't, again, we'll get you assigned. If any of the folks who are on the call, let me know if you didn't get an invite.
Hi, yeah, so I'm Gianna, the new YCS Regional Coordinator for SPA 6. I wasn't sent the registration link, first of all, so when I came into this meeting, I was given a link from someone else.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was put in SPA 5 because I was under someone else's name, but I think belonging to SPA
Yeah,
6.
let's move you to SPA 6. And Ariana,
Hey,
hi.
good morning. I am in the San Fernando Valley, so I think that's spot 2. But it didn't send
Let's
me.
see. Yes, I see yours. You're in a different different spa. So I'll move you to SPA 2 for
Awesome.
San Fernando Valley. Yeah.
If we're still here, is this our group?
Yeah, this is our group. I'm going to move Lydia to, let's see, SPA 6. Okay. Yeah. You're welcome to join a group. Erica, do you want to pop in?
Nah, I'm good. I'm cool. I do so much talking. I think they tired.
Let's dive back into it. Thank you, Jessica. Let's get back into it. Thank you all for participating in a great breakout room session and for meeting each other. I hope that went well. And I'm going to pass it on to our DCFS team. So first, we're going to have supportive housing, talk about what resources that they provide. And then ILP will also share a little bit about the work that they do. So I'm going to pass it on to Claudia and Olga, who will talk more about supportive housing.
All right, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Olga Flores. I'm one of the supervisors here at the Supportive Housing Division. So we'll go ahead and get started with the next slide, please. So the Supportive Housing Division, or SHD, provides housing resources to assist transitioning age youth, or TAY, with successful transition from dependency to self-sufficiency. Next slide, please. The SHD or TAY program that we have, or there are 2. One is for open cases, or it could be seen as a placement, is the Transitional Housing Placement Plus Non-Minor Dependent, or THPP NMD. That is when the youth has their case currently open. And then we also have closed cases resources or housing. One is the Independent Living Program, Transitional Housing Program, or ILP-THP, and the other is Transitional Housing Program Plus, THP Plus. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go over the programs. The first one is the THDP-MMD, Transitional Housing Placement Plus Non-Minor Dependent, or THDP-MMD. Bear with the acronyms, guys. So the THPP NMD program, so this is considered a placement program for our young adults from ages 18 to 20 who choose to participate in extended foster care under the AB 12 program. There is an application process. Most of the living arrangements are in a 2-bedroom apartment with another roommate. All apartments are fully furnished, and there is a case management component that is mandatory for our youth to participate in. Next slide, please. The other 2 programs that I mentioned earlier is the closed case housing options. The first one is the independent living program, transitional housing program, ILP-THP, and the other is the transitional housing program plus, THP plus. So I'll go over the independent living program, transitional housing program, ILP-THP. Next slide. And so this program, the eligibility requirements is that the young adult is from 18 to 21 and 21st birthday who have exited foster care. So they cannot have an open case while they are asking to be in this program. They are homeless or at risk of homelessness, and they must be IOP eligible. Next slide, please. The application process. So the youth will complete the application. They will go ahead and email it over to Supportive Housing Division. The Supportive Housing Division team will check the eligibility of the youth. They will then go ahead and email the youth, connecting them to ILP-THP providers if they are deemed eligible. The young adult is responsible for connecting and maintaining frequent contact with these providers. So it is the responsibility of the youth to go ahead and, show interest, follow up, ask for vacancies, what's the next process, things of that nature.
I will be presenting on THP plus. So for THP plus, the youth must be between the ages of 18 and 25 prior to their 25th birthday. This is a 3-year program, or when they hit 25, whichever comes first. It's a statewide program, but please note that the 3 years don't restart if they move from one county to the other. The youth are to be homeless or at risk of being homeless. They also need to be IL eligible. We verify their eligibility, no one else but us. We verify their eligibility and ensure that the youth can, move forward on there. There's currently approximately 180 plus beds. Please note we are always at capacity. We're about at 95% capacity. So it's very difficult to get in. The apartments are furnished. Everything is that they need is there. Most are 2-bedroom apartments. They're shared apartments. And there is a case management component in the program. They are to save, the agency helps them save 30 to 50%. And the agency will contribute $50 a month into that savings as well. And the idea is just to get the kid used to paying rent. Next slide, please. The application process is pretty similar to ILP THP. So the youth would send their application. Completed application is submitted to the SHD via email. We ask that you, as supportive teams, you help your youth complete it. Don't complete it for them. We have to get them used to doing big boy, big girl stuff. So they need to go ahead and complete it. If they're deemed eligible, they'll receive an email with detailed directions as to what are the next steps. The housing people that we're sending it to is included in that email. So the youth is strongly, and I want to say encourage, they are responsible for making contact with those people. If that means stalking them and calling them every day, then so be it. They need to be responsible. It's their housing. They need to really advocate for themselves. Next slide, please. Next is the Section 8 voucher. Please note that the vouchers are not DCFS vouchers. They are the Housing Authority hub Housing Urban Development, they created these FYI vouchers to assist young adults leaving foster care with housing throughout housing choice vouchers. Those are the HCV vouchers. Next slide, please. Vouchers are rarely awarded. When DCFS is made aware that there'll be vouchers available, we send out a notice that applications will be, we'll be accepting applications. Once applications are accepted, the youth is contacted to participate in an interview. And during that interview is when we see if they are appropriate for the voucher program. Please note the voucher program is something that is completely self-sufficient. There's minimal case management. The department does not come furnished. Utilities are not paid. We don't pay first and last rent, and we do not pay for the application fee. So this youth needs to be financially ready to take on that responsibility. Although the voucher does cover 70% of their rent, 30% is their responsibility. And on top of that 30% is the utilities and their things that they need to, live off of. This is a 3-year program up to the age of 25, but if they participate in a program called FSS, Family Self-Sufficiency, they can be awarded up to 2 more years. These youth must leave foster care at the age of 18 or older. So we're going here, the Section 8 vouchers are for the youth, 36 months, like I said, 3 years, or 25. Los Angeles County, they're from the LACTA as well as other public agencies, for example, the Pomona Housing Authority. Next one, please. When we talk about the case management, it is called ICMF, Intensive Care Management Support. These are people who assist the youth in finding rentals. That doesn't mean that they fill out the application, that they just help them. This youth needs to be ready to do things on their own. So they need to be at least 18 years old and through age 24, they're to leave DCFS within 90 days. That doesn't mean that the time they apply, they leave. It's once they're vouchered up, they need to not be, in DCFS. They're to be homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. Please note that pregnant and parenting youth are eligible unless they have an open DCFS case, and move them ineligible. Next slide, please. So the process is, once we find out that we're getting some vouchers, we let everybody know, and applications start coming in. They send the application to the SHD, and the SHD will send a follow-up email saying, yes, you do qualify. And then we set them up for a interview to see if they're an appropriate candidate for these vouchers. If eligible, SHD will refer them to the Public Housing Authority as well as the Intensive Case Management Services. Conjointly, they'll do that together so we can have someone supporting them through the application process and seeking a unit. The Public Housing Authority will give the vouchers. We don't have the vouchers. They come from the Public Housing Authority. The client must complete the application. It's not just our application. It's a very thorough application of the Public Housing Authority. It asks for vital documents, including pay stubs, bank account statements, birth certificates, Social Security, if they have children as well, their vital documents. Once the youth receives a voucher in hand, it is their responsibility to start looking for a unit. They have a year to seek this unit. They can always ask for an extension, but the extension is only for 6 months. They have a year and a half to secure this housing. The problem we're facing is that, like we said, there's very limited units for youth to rent. So they have to really hit the pavement, boots on the ground, look for a unit with the support of ICMS. Next one, please. The next one is just questions. Go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we will go ahead and respond as we can. I just want to make sure that everyone is clear that these come from the Housing Authority. We are currently interviewing youth. There's a lot of things that we're learning as we interview the youth, that some of them didn't know what they were applying for. Some of them didn't realize that we're not finding their housing. So we have to make sure that we're really sending that message. This is for the youth who are truly able to live independently. I don't know how you guys want to do it, Megan, if you want us just to answer privately, or how would you like to go about that?
Yeah, let's, folks can feel free to drop questions in the chat or raise your hand on Zoom. And we should answer them so folks can hear. So it looks like there's one question so far about if parenting young people, parenting students are eligible for the THP plus.
Yes. Yes, they are. Yes. They can apply for THP plus, but again, please note that vacancies are very limited. But yes, if they are a parent in youth, yes, they can. You're welcome, Crystal. Typically, what is the timeline process? To what? What do you say the?
From when the youth submits an application and then
For,
they
for THP plus, Miha, or for vouchers?
THP plus.
Okay, so if they submit an application to THP plus, within the next day, they'll receive an email saying we received your application and we have sent it to the following agencies. And on that, it says very specifically, you are to follow through. So kids will receive that and not read the whole thing. We have browsers and pick and choose what they're gonna read. I always tell people it's because it's not as short as a TikTok or an Instagram reel. So they don't read the bottom where it says you are responsible to communicate with those people. So have them learn gentle stalking, be nice, be kind, email, call. Hi, it's still me, but he say that I'm still looking for housing. Someone's gonna, take the bite and they'll be able to assist them. Any other questions on there?
Yeah, there is a question in the chat about what services do the ICMS assistants include and which ICMS agencies work with the voucher holders?
So we have several agencies that work with us. They are contracted through the DHS, Department of Health Services. So they are the ones who have the contract and they hired ICMS intensive case managers. They help with, as soon as we connect them saying this youth is eligible, they start helping them locate vacancies, help them get their paperwork together, help them ensure that they're completing that form correctly and timely, and ensuring that it's a lot of making sure they're following through.
Couple of other questions. So for the FYI FUP voucher, are youth required to have an open DCFS case when they're 16 to 18 years old?
Yes, they have to have had a case at that time. Yeah, 18, exited after 18. Yes.
And then another question here. So are all CSWs supposed to go over the information for the voucher with the independent youth on their caseload? And do they help their youth apply, or is it up to the youth to vocalize that they're interested in this resource?
Well, this is another option for them, reasonable efforts. So we say that you highly encourage, if you feel your youth is ready for self-sufficiency, absolutely refer them. Given the application, the worker should be giving them the application. We're learning, like I said, that the application is filled out by a social worker and the kid saying, I didn't know I applied for this. This is like big girl stuff. This is too hard for me. So we always, in the beginning of the interview, we always give a detailed explanation of what it is. But this is an option for those kids who are ready, not just willing, but able to do it.
Thank you for that.
Of course.
All right, one more. So when eligible TAE receive the referral information for THP plus providers, is there an additional application or eligibility process that the provider administers?
No, the provider will contact the youth for an interview. There is an interview just to see if they're a good fit for that program. If they're a good fit for the vacancy and who they're gonna live with.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important that we are mindful of this youth is going to live with somebody else. So we want to make sure it's a good fit for both of the occupants.
Great, thank you. And another question here, does the ICMS agency support financially anything that the voucher doesn't cover? So those move-in fees, those utilities, furnishings, things that you mentioned?
Not always. So I would say do not depend on that. when I interview and our staff interviews, we always make it very clear. You will pay for first, last, any deposit, to plug in all the utilities. So we really prepare them to know this is gonna be your apartment, and we make it very clear. It is your responsibility to pay rent. If you default, you will have an eviction on your credit, which takes 7 to 10 years to jump off of it. So we make it very clear to kids, and I will be very honest with you, most of our youth will realize this is too hard, and then we'll talk them through other options.
Thank you. So before we jump to ILP, I wanted to ask Olga and Claudia, we have a lot of colleges in the audience as well, who are working with youth. Do you have any suggestions or advice for them for how to support young people who are navigating this process, or how can they help a student who's trying to get housing through some of these options? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. We have liaisons at the community college. There should be one who is connected to the community colleges. They're there to answer those questions, to go ahead and assist, the college students during their time that they're there. If not, they can always send an email to us if you go to the next slide, it'll show our email. They can always send an email there or directly to myself or to Olga, and we'll go ahead and answer any questions. But I will say this, I am a former ILP coordinator. I love the colleges. I love the supportive programs on college. Sometimes it's their voice, the college voices are stronger than ours because we are DCFS. It doesn't come with a good reputation, but those colleges, your influence and your talks with these youth are very, very, very important, and it really helps them prepare in completing the application. Just like teaching soft skills, like don't show up to your interview laying on the bed. Sit up, sit right, wear a nice shirt on our Zoom, make sure you're saying your please and your thank yous, and really filling out the application in its entirety, really looking at their application, letting them know that the Cholo cursive writing is not going to be acceptable. Make sure you write in your best penmanship. There's just those soft skills that those youth, are learning. And as the college support program, I would say that is the most important thing that we can teach our kids, is how to be prepared for the real world. So I'm a big supporter. I know most of the people on here, and I've been really fortunate to make connections with most of the college. So please feel free to reach out anytime.
The other thing I would say for the colleges is, there's the ILP coordinators for the regional offices. So that's always a good starting point to link the student to their ILP coordinator if they have one. The other thing is we do have, like I said, our staff. We've tried to place them at different colleges or community colleges, given that the college will accept them being there. So what our staff are doing is they'll meet with the youth, check their eligibility first of all, and then recommend which housing programs they would be eligible for. So that's already a starting point there. If the youth has an open case, just reminding them to talk to their social worker about these things as well, because a lot of the time the youth bypasses the social worker, doesn't say anything. So the social worker has no clue of what this youth may be because they're not voicing that to their social worker, who could also link them to their IOP coordinator in the office, who can also, reach out to THP plus those cases and say, hey, my youth needs assistance, or here's the programs that we know about. So just reminding the student, like, hey, did you talk to your social worker about this? Okay, let's talk to your IOP coordinator. Okay, or let's talk to the liaison we have on campus. So they do have a network around them, and it's just reminding that student, like, okay, did you hit all those bases?
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. That was great. I also, before we move on to ILP, I'll uplift in the chat. Someone dropped a resource about A Sense of Home, which provides some furnishings and support for young people who need the furniture for their new place. All right, I will pass it on to Jill and Erica to talk about ILP. Thank you, Supportive Housing Team, for being here.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, Erica, you just went on mute. We didn't get to
Good
hear
morning.
your.
There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulties. And now okay, here we go. I couldn't see the PowerPoint. So good morning, everyone. As I stated earlier, my name is Erica Pollard. I am one of the directors of the Independent Living Program. So happy to be here with you all today. One of the questions that we always hear is, what is IOP? So the Independent Living Program is a voluntary program that provides financial resources, community resources, funding to youth to assist them in transitioning into self-sufficiency. Our program starts at the age of 16 and it ends the day before their 21st birthday. Although we are voluntary, we are still very proactive. We reach out to all of our youth to see if they want to participate, as well, of course, check their eligibility. But we do check in periodically with all of our youth to see if they want services from our program. Next slide. All right, so let's talk about eligibility. A lot of this probably isn't that important for you guys, but it is key information to know. How do you determine eligibility? Only an IOP coordinator is, I don't know, I don't want to say allowed, but they are the person that is designated to check eligibility. To be eligible, you had to have been 16, at least 16, and suitably placed in a foster home in foster care between 16 and 20. So anytime you have a youth, if you want to know if they're eligible, we have a request form. You would send it over to the IOP coordinator, and they would be the person to determine the eligibility for the youth. We are also eligible youth are youth that are in legal guardianship with a relative, and that can happen at any age, but they have to be receiving funding still between 16 and 18. We do have a lot of young people that go into kinship guardianship and then the guardian, for whatever reason, stops accepting payments. If they are not accepting payments at 16, that youth is not eligible for IOP still. And also, if you are in non-related legal guardianship starting at the age of 8, those youth would be eligible on or after your 8th birthday. So anytime you have a young person, please reach out to the IOP team so that they can check eligibility and offer services to those young people. Next slide. So this group is specifically, I think, college related. So I'm gonna kind of skip over that, but just to let you know, it's on the screen, all of the many things that the Independent Living Program can provide, which includes assistance with tuition, unmet need for tuition, books and supplies, dorms. For youth in closed cases, we can help with rental assistance. It's a plethora of things. And it's very important for us that we connect all of our programs, just like Guardian Scholars Next Up. Our goal is to provide our young people with all of the resources that they need to not only get into college, but complete college and with as little debt as possible, as well as connect them with community resources that are going to help them in all aspects of their life, right? Because we want to ensure that our young people, once they leave this system, they are educated, they have livable wage jobs, they have been trained in workforce, and they have appropriate, safe housing. So I'm going to turn this over to Jill because she's going to talk to you specifically about a lot of the collaboration that we are doing with the colleges, with the foster youth support programs, and just to kind of let you know how we want to increase that collaboration to increase the outcomes for our young people. So Jill. Oh, not next slide, but Jill.
Okay, so let's go back to the previous slide. So about 7 years ago, Eric and I both started at ILP. And one of our main goals under the Chafee provisions was post-secondary education for our youth. And at some point we looked at each other and we said, why are we not doing college tours? How are we telling these kids go to college and they don't know what college looks like? So we started doing college tours. Our first tour was at UCLA, and we've expanded it now to visit as many of the local four-year colleges as we can in the fall before their applications are due. And then in the spring, we pivot to our other programs like Trade Tech and Job Corps, and we do a tour of the three Valley Mission and Pierce. We have a bus tour day. So what are our tours like? Eric and I both just finished touring for our own children to go to college. So we know what a college tour looks like. They show you the gym, and they show you the dorms, and they show you the psych building, and they show you the student center. But our tours are a little different. Yes, they include a walking tour of the campus, but they also include, very importantly, linking up with our college campus support programs like you guys. So the Next Up, EOPS, Guardian Scholars, whatever it's called on your campus, we organize our tours through you. Sometimes you guys do the tour, sometimes the admissions office does the tour and we meet up with you after. But in any event, our students not only get to see a college campus, which we all know there's great energy, there's tons of young people. College campuses are beautiful. They're a lot prettier than any high school they might have gone to. They're bigger, and they get the idea that a college campus is not just a bigger high school, but it's really a city unto itself where you can get healthcare, and you can go to the gym, and you can get any books, supplies, clothing, medical supplies, anything you need is pretty much available in that bookstore on campus, and food. So they really get the idea of what a dorm looks like, what it is like to live and eat and exist on a college campus. But then they also hear that they're not going to be alone there. And the most important probably part of our tours is the student panel, where they can hear from their peers, and they often recognize each other, right? I knew you from that group home, or that, oh, I saw you at Celebration, or whatever it was. They recognize each other, and they see each other in the students that are currently going to that school. And frankly, sometimes the students really give them the good, bad, and the ugly, but it's all really important for them to know, because ultimately these students are there. They're going to that school, they're succeeding, and they talk a lot about the support that they can get from ILP and from the campus support programs. We do a warm handoff. We were recently able, after working for a number of years, we were able to get a release form to get around FERPA, because many times you all have contacted me and said, hey, can you tell me who's coming to my campus? And I can't because of FERPA. So we now have a release form. So for our students that are attending college, many of you have gotten an email from me in the last couple months saying, here's the list of students that are coming to our campus. The way that our program is structured is that we have staff in each of the 20 DCFS offices that are all around the county. And it's done by where their case is, where their case was when it opened, by zip codes and spas and all those different things. So on those emails, I've also included for you the contact. Each of our offices has an inbox. So ilp.wateridge@dcfs.lacounty.com, ilp.pomona@dcfs.lacounty.gov. And all of that information is on our website, which is, I believe, on the next slide. And I will also put it into the comments, or maybe Erica, you can, here it is. ilponline.org, that's our website. You can also write to us at Youth Development Services, YouthDS, at dcfs.lacounty.gov, or you can write to me. So most of you have received emails if you had students coming from the class of 2024 coming to your campus, letting you know what we can help with, because we can help with unmet need. So if the tuition is completely covered by the financial aid, we probably can't help with that, but we can help with other things like books and supplies, transportation. Like Erica said, for closed cases, we can help with housing. If they have SILP, we can make sure that their SILP payment is getting applied to their dorm. And Erica put the website into the chat. We also have on there all of our college tours. So if you're like from a campus that we're not visiting and you kind of want to, peer in and see what we're doing, you're welcome to come. And then we can help with other things, like we can purchase a computer and laptop, computer, and a printer for our youth. We can help with work clothes. If they're doing work study on your campus and they need the outfit for Subway sandwich or whatever it is, we can help provide them with funds for that. If they're looking for a job, they want to do an internship and they need professional clothing, we can provide them with funds for that. So if you look on our website, all of that information is on there. We also work very closely with our cousins from housing. They used to be part of ILP. They have their own division now, but we work with them all the time. Many of the staff were our staff, so we know them very well, and we like to work together. We know from the research that Chapin Hall has been doing in Chicago that connecting our students with the campus support programs is critical for them not getting only to college, but through college. We're doing a great job of to, but we have a lot of work to do in the through, although we have gone up from 3% completion to 10% completion in just 5 or 6 years. So that is significant, but that still means there's a lot of youth that are getting to school and not getting through. So please contact us, work with us. Erica said we'll share out a flyer with the QR code. So please work with us to let us know how we can continue to support your youth. Even if something isn't on the list of things that we just said, there are funds that we can try to leverage to help our students get through if something unusual comes up. So please be in touch with us. Let me know if you have any questions. And thank you for partnering with us, because this is the way that our youth succeed.
Thank you so much, Jill and Erica. That was fantastic. And thank you to the entire DCFS team. I know there's a lot of great resources that you all provide, a lot of support, and we hope that folks take advantage of that support to help their students and their young people. There was a question in the chat about housing options for older students. So I think I'm going to ask Olga and Claudia if you want to address that in the that question there. Great. Well, while we're waiting for Claudia and Olga, if there are any questions for the ILP team, great. JT, if you want to go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So first of all, hi, Jill. It's lovely to see you again. So good to see you. Thank you again. Thank you again for that wonderful collaboration of the email as well, too. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. My question to you is in regards to transportation. Okay. I saw on the slide, Jill and Erica, it said plane tickets or any accommodations in regards to that. If you happen to have an IOP student who's probably saying that they want to go home for the holidays or maybe travel somewhere for the holidays to see family, would you be able to supply that?
So our transportation is for students who are traveling to universities out of our area, like the Bay Area, or out of state. They are not for family visits. They are only for the beginning or end of each term. So if a student is going up to Berkeley, we fly them up to Oakland Airport at the beginning of the term, and we fly them back at the winter break, and then back again for the beginning of the next term and home for summer, wherever home is for them. But we do not provide for vacation visits or even Thanksgiving. We just do beginning, end of the tour. And you know what? I forgot to mention one thing, if we can jump back. We also have a program called Deck My Dorm that we have almost 2,000 items donated, where our students come to a party, an event where there's a DJ and a photo booth and a taco cart, and they get everything that they need from mattress pads on up for their rooms. They even get custom signs with the name of their school, with the school colors. So our students are never coming to school alone without items and with their stuff in trash bags. We make sure that they get 3 duffel bags full of items, which is just very, very exciting to see them. Because actually on one of our tours at UCLA a number of years ago, a student described her first day and how alone she felt and how she didn't have any of the stuff and she didn't have parents and nobody was taking pictures of her. And it was only because when she got to her room, there was a packet from the Guardian Scholars welcoming her to Cal that she just didn't turn around and walk right back out of that campus. So I just want to let you know that we are really trying to be thoughtful and provide everything that our youth need.
And then if I can add to that, Jill, as far as transportation, not with Deck My Dorms, but I also wanted to add, one of the things that we do is we really are trying to connect with our youth as well as connect with Guardian Scholars, because one thing that we do know is that when our young people are engaging with each other, working with each other, that they build relationships with people that, kind of have the same experiences. And in that, what we're looking at is we try to teach our young people to utilize their resources. So, your roommate, or, you may get to know them and their family. And if there are, your roommate has a car or something, there are people that are, if you're in the Bay, that are driving down to LA. We're trying to teach them how to utilize their resources and build relationships as well. So, that's one of the reasons why we want to really develop our relationship better with Guardian Scholars and Next Step, so we can ensure that all of our kids are, getting to know each other and engaging and building additional resources, because we want them to know how to navigate the world after us, so to speak.
Now we have a question from Mercedes Woods. And Mercedes, if you could come off unmute just to state your question so we make sure we are answering it correctly. The question was, do members who qualify for TLP also qualify for THP? But it wasn't clear what was being asked in the question in terms of TLP. Are you there, Mercedes? Oh, the mic isn't working. Okay.
It sounds like that's a question for the housing team. I don't know if their mic isn't working.
Yeah, maybe.
I put the email for college tours in the chat, but I also wanted to encourage all of you to go on our website, www.ilponline.org, hit the yellow subscribe button, and then you will get all kinds of information of all of our events. We have a big college fair coming up. We have our college tour coming up. We have job events. We have tax prep events, all kinds of things. Your students should all be filing for taxes to get their tax refunds. And we have workshops where they can be helped by CPAs do that for free.
Thanks, Jill. And where would folks find the information about things like Deck My Dorm? Is that on ILP Online, or would they contact their ILP coordinator?
That's through their ILP coordinator, because we need to ensure that they are accepted and attending that campus and that they will come to the event. We can't have walk-ins because we have everything like ready for the youth. Big thing for me is that they get to pick their own bedding, because so many of our students have never had the option. They've just this foster home and that foster home, and you just go sleep there. So they pick their own bedding, their own throw blanket, and their own towel. So at the end, they get a large Ziploc, one of those big ones with the handles, and with their name on it and the bedding that they choose. And it's kind of a bait and switch, because they think they're just coming to pick up that stuff, and then they get like 25 items. So it's really fun to see their faces. They're just like, oh my God. So yeah, that would be through their ILP coordinator.
Yeah, and we definitely want you all to reach out to your coordinators for any and everything. Everybody on our team is one band, one sound. So you're gonna get the same answer from everybody. So if you have a particular, I know sometimes people get funny style. If you just have a particular person that you like to talk to, you can reach out to them and ask them any questions about the program. We are going to be, I'm going to be sending over to J-Bay's team our flyer, which we would love for you to all, we made it as a poster, but unfortunately budget restrictions, we're not able to send out any posters. So we're going to send you the flyer, but we would love for you to put them up in your office. They have a QR code that leads anybody right to our website. So they have complete access to the ILP team. It has all of our names, phone numbers, emails, so that you can reach out if we need to check eligibility or for whatever additional needs that you may have. Even if you're just having an event on your campus and you want us to participate, we want to be there. We want all of our kids to know who we are. I mean, granted, our services for LA County, but there is an IOP is a national program, so every county has one. So if you have easy access to us, that we could be on the campus at one of your events, please do not hesitate to reach out and invite us, because the information is kind of the same across the board. The funding amounts may be different, but it's still resources, and we want to know what resources are on your campus or that you're connected to, so that we can also share those. We work greater together. We no longer want to work in silos. We want to be 100% part of your teams, and we want you to be a part of ours. So I don't know if there were any other questions. We don't want to take over.
Thank you, Erica. That was great. That was a great transition to move it on to Chris at LASA. Thank you, DCFS, again, for all that great information. I'm going to turn it over to Chris, who's going to talk about what LASA can provide to young people.
Awesome, and thank you, everyone. So Christiane Jimenez pronounced with LASA. Jill and Erica had really talked about some really wonderful things about the importance of education. And so something I just really want to call into the top of this, right, is that we in Homeless Services really look at education as a very integral partner. We know that when folks are connected to education, that their likelihood of returning to the streets and returning to homelessness dramatically go down. As has been discussed many times in this meeting, LA County is super expensive. And so there's a lot of requirements of a higher income to be able to stay here and have that self-sufficiency. So we just really want to highlight the importance again, and how education helps in reducing the amount of folks returning to the streets. And then also how we know that housing helps people with their educational outcomes and the importance of that as well. When it comes to UCS, part of today is a little bit of a UCS 101 with specific shout outs I do have for the population that we're thinking about on this call. So trying to sprinkle that in throughout. But to help demystify it, because when we talk about homeless services, it's a very big system. There are thousands of people who are working every day to really address the housing crisis. And so a couple of things to help ground us. When we talk about the folks we're serving, we're talking about serving 16 to 24-year-olds. 24-year-olds meaning up until the day before their 25th birthday. And 16 and 17-year-olds have to be emancipated. There are some services out there that we do work with when it comes to unaccompanied minors. Here's a couple agencies we just highlighted at the top, but there's some other providers and groups out there as well. We do have to have folks meet the HUD definition of homelessness to access housing resources. I know for many folks that can be a really interesting sticking point, because the definition of homelessness is actually it can be quite cumbersome to navigate. And so it's something I do want to call quickly in for attention on this, is that our campus peer navigators a couple of years ago had actually worked with this app called the What I Need app, known as the WIN app. And it was talking about creating an interactive quiz so that could help young folks identify whether they met the qualifying definitions of homeless services. And so we have categories 1, which is literal homelessness. That's pretty self-explanatory. There's a category 2, which is imminent risk. So that we have our problem solvers can work 30 days prior to being exited or out of a housing situation. So if someone's at imminent risk of like getting out of housing, we can work with that person. There's category 4, which is fleeing a violent situation. And we do know that sometimes when there's follow-up questions with our young folks, that we find out more that they oftentimes fall under HUD definitions category 2 or category 4 and can be served. Again, a lot of nuance in that conversation, but there is that free app with that quiz. And we really strongly encourage folks to have that so that way it can help them identify what definition they meet, and then it can also help them in their advocacy efforts. Simultaneously, we also are doing we're trying to build in our trainings more to help folks navigate the definition questions. So that way we can all work in addressing like the challenges that come with these kind of cumbersome definitions as well. So just to put that out there, there has been a lot of conversations too about the Next Step tool. We have really decentered using that particular tool. Sometimes you is the triage tool, lots of different nicknames for it. But long story short, acuity scores are no longer used to prioritize for interim housing. And the way we've used it for prioritization for permanent supportive housing has dramatically changed too. So we've really reduced some of the biggest barriers when it comes towards connecting folks to these resources. As we all know, there are still like a finite amount of resources in LA County, so we rely a lot on problem solving. And I would say that because our system is always striving to be more equitable, the fact that we are always striving to like increase the amount of resources that we have and improve processes and systems, one of the best things that I would encourage anyone to do is like if you are working with a young person and you want to try getting them connected to services, to really try getting connected to the care coordination meetings that are happening in your spa. The contact information will be shared later on a slide in this, but just wanted to really highlight the importance of attending those meetings. Next slide. Okay, now, if you're like me, you're probably a visual person. Sometimes when we try to imagine a system, it can be like really daunting. It's like, okay, like there is this massive system in LA County. When you talk about certain things, Chris, Jenny, what do you mean? So it's like, so this here is to kind of help like get a better sense of like what CES quote unquote looks like, right? And so here you can see the kind of the flow of the system. Our main goal is we want to prevent people from becoming homeless to begin with. And there are various resources that exist out there that we want to try connecting people to. Now, if prevention doesn't work, we really want to try having like access. We want to make it as accessible as possible to get into homeless services. Even if there is some challenges with wait times or whatnot, we want to ensure that like folks know like the appropriate door to go through. We want to have a no wrong door approach so that if they do go to someone, it's not a like, oh, sorry for your luck. We want to ensure that like they're able to get some kind of resources to like help empower someone in a conversation and then help them in escaping their homeless crisis. Part of the plugin here is there's something known as problem solving. Problem solving is an intervention. It is not a program per se. It's much more about using funds to like be very flexible and navigating someone so that they can have these funds to exit homelessness. And so there are some folks at LASA who do these problem solving conversations who have these funds. But what's beautiful and what's pretty neat is that the problem solving team here at LASA host a virtual meeting. It's for 2 hours. And anyone, even if you're not in homeless services, if you are a college staff, if you work with DSFES, you can take this training and you'll have access to problem solving funds. So there's more information about that. We'll share a link about how to sign up for those, but just wanted to do that shout out that there is something out there to help empower people when it comes to this strategy. And then lastly, here you see the interim housing opportunities to help someone get safe and stable while we look at more permanent options. And then there's some permanent options that you see here as well too. We do collaborate with across system partners. So whether it's like helping folks get connected to possible FYI vouchers, sometimes LASA will get some resources for FYI that have come to us. I know DSS gets a lot of them as well, of course, as was mentioned earlier. And we also have our housing navigator team who can help folks who may be connected to a voucher, who may be still experiencing homelessness, and that person can then help, like the housing navigator can then help that person find housing. Because as we know, housing search can be really difficult, especially if this is your first time searching for housing. So again, that's a neat resource that exists out there as well. Ultimate goal to attain safe and stable housing. Next slide. All right, and to continue with the visuals, like we have some programs that are more specific for like all populations and then some specifically for CES. So this kind of just shows a little bit of what we have here. One of the most unique programs I would say that we have is actually Connect LA. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. And then you can see some of the other important context too. If you are a person who works with the colleges on the call, I would really encourage you to try to find your CPN for your spa. That person can help connect you to CS resources, can help with problem solving. Whether maybe it's about collaboration, there might be some really interesting resources that you have that the CPN's not aware of. And sometimes the more we all get together, the more we actually end up finding like the way we can all like collaborate in helping the young person. So the CPN, as Megan said, campus peer navigators, they again are in all these spas. So we have a flyer for that. We can be able to share that. If you're with DSFES or if you're with probation, really wanting you to get in contact with their system liaison. They do something similar to what our campus peer navigators do. But they, in addition to the problem solving, can help put someone on an interest list for some of the FY vouchers that LASA does attain, or can also help connect to other resources in our housing service system if problem solving is not successful. All right, next slide. So here's a little bit more information. I know this slide's quite busy, so I want to just kind of do some quick highlights, right? As we mentioned, there is Connect LA. It was previously known as YFR, which was Youth Family Reconnection, but we wanted to pivot away from that term. Connect LA is a program that actually works a lot with young people and identifying the goals that they have. And what it does is it actually can help them strengthen a relationship with a family member. This can be biological or chosen. And in addition to this, and I think this is so important for our folks, sometimes Connect LA can also help just simply in the creation of relationships. So it can help with finding new friends. It can help finding new people. And one of the things that a lot of our homeless youth talk about is this challenge that they face, which is quite frankly, that they ran out of relationships. A lot of the folks we have on the streets may not have a person to turn to in their time of need, may feel really alone. And we know that a lot of our case managers with Connect LA do a stellar job at building relationships, not only with the client, but helping client just the youth meet other people and just helping them feel very whole as a person. I know that the LGBT Center, for instance, has done really amazing outings to help people meet other friends. And when people are able to build those relationships and those friendships, they're more likely to do things like look at shared housing. And we know that LA County is super expensive and that people may be very resistant to go into shared housing. But oftentimes people are okay with shared housing. They just don't want to do shared housing with a stranger. And so if we can be able to have these kind of opportunities or build these relationships, it can go a long way towards housing, but it can go a long way just towards the youth's overall well sense of being. So just wanting to highlight that. And again, as I had mentioned earlier, the CPN and the DSFES system liaisons are just really phenomenal people to get in contact with when it comes to bridging the gap between the various cross systems that we have. And as I previewed, if you want to get in contact to attend your local care coordination meetings, you can see the youth regional coordinators here we have on the call. So some of the folks here, they're able to attend, they're able to help you get connected to those meetings. They can also help with connections to the liaisons or the campus peer navigators. And again, are able to help provide some updates on what's happening with the homeless service system as well. And if you yourself want to attend these meetings and maybe have a presentation, if you want to share information about resources that you have or some exciting opportunities, it's also a great way to connect, so that way they could have a presenter as well. So the goal overall is really just trying to bridge gaps and really ensure that that we are all working together. That DSFES, colleges, the home service system, we know that it's a serious crisis, but we know that when we all collaborate together, that we can actually make some really phenomenal, amazing things happen for the youth we serve. And so that's really it for at least on my end. And if there's any questions, we have a few minutes still to at least have to check in on those. The thing that's coming up for folks. Oh, I love it. And I see that Megan put the links to the liaisons and the campus peer navigators in the chat. So thank you, Megan. Sweet. Well, I'll turn it back to you, Megan.
Thanks, Chris. And folks can feel free if questions come up to put them in the chat. I know Chris might have to run a little bit early today, but if he does, and we'll get those questions answered for you and send them out. So thank you all. Yeah, we can go on to the next slide. Thanks so much again to LASA and DCFS for sharing what resources and supports are available to us at a systems level. There's also other resources in the community that I wanted to highlight for you all. So in addition to what we heard from LASA, from DCFS, there's also a number of nonprofit housing programs that are available for young people in the community. Some of these programs serve youth generally, some of them target foster youth. In particular, there's also programs like LA Room and Board that target college students, in particular, community college students in LA Room and Board's case. So there are these options out there. I think I would say that they're typically a little bit limited in terms of size, in terms of the number of beds that they offer, but I think they're still wonderful organizations to get to know, especially if you have one located in your community. So just keep in mind, you can contact 211 for more information about these programs. DCFS may also have information or have relationships with these organizations. Just keep in mind that each organization is going to have their own eligibility, their process, their application. So a young person will need that one-on-one support to connect with these programs, just as they would with any of the DCFS supportive housing programs that require an application and navigation. All right, we can move on to the next slide, please. There's also a couple of resources I wanted to highlight, and these are less about housing and more about kind of housing preservation. So FERS is a hotline that's available to current and former foster and probation youth. And, young people can call the hotline if they're experiencing any sort of crisis, any sort of challenge, big or small, and be connected to someone who can help walk them through that challenge, that crisis. So they can do phone support. They also have in-person mobile response. So if there's a greater crisis that the young person is experiencing, there can actually be an in-person mediation. And I've heard that this is a helpful tool. Maybe a young person is living with a resource parent. There's some conflict. They're not getting along. The FERS might be a good resource to lean on if we want to make sure to try to preserve that housing situation for that young person. Similarly, we also have our foster youth ombudsperson who can respond to complaints about foster youth rights or care, their placement. They are also a resource for your former foster youth who need that dependency letter, that verification letter. DCFS can provide it, but if the young person may not have that relationship anymore, the ombudsperson can help connect the youth and get that verification letter that's useful for receiving services beyond their care. Okay. All right, so we are going to be, wrapping up the training after this next breakout session, but I hope you all will take another 10 minutes to regroup, maybe talk through some questions, and kind of talk about how you will be using this information to collaborate together following this breakout. So I'm going to go ahead and open the breakouts. We'll do 10 minutes again. I know that some folks were stuck outside a break room. We'll move you when we as soon as we can. And yeah, we'll come back at. So thank you all for again for that breakout room experience. I hope it's been helpful to connect with folks who are working in your community, and I hope it led to starting some conversations about how to continue to support young people with housing. We talked about a number of resources on this call today. Some of them are here on the screen. Don't worry about getting them all down. We'll send these slides out with these links. But I wanted to highlight a couple. DCFS has some great tools that Jill and Erica talked about on ILP Online. I also highly recommend the WIN app from LASA that does include that screening tool that Chris was talking about. So young people can take this quiz and find out what housing options through LASA that they might be eligible for. Here at JBay, we do a lot of support around financial aid and post-secondary access. So we have some great guides for social workers, for caregivers, any adult supporter working with young people, that gives step-by-step guidance around applying for financial aid, applying for college, things that'll be really helpful for your young people to make that transition into post-secondary success. We all know about 211. We probably use it often. There's also another resource I want to highlight, which is the California Higher Education Student Housing Guide, which is an incredibly comprehensive guide. It includes housing resources in every county in the state of California, including housing resources that are attached to colleges. So if you have a young person who's college bound, who's in college, this might be a great resource to check out. We also created a handout that accompanies this training. So we can drop that PDF in the chat as well. Thank you, Jessica. So this talks through all of those resources that DCFS talked about, that LASA talked about, and other community resources. So everything you heard today is in that handout. So please download it. We'll also send it out to you when we send out the slides and the recording. But I hope that you find that that's a helpful resource moving forward. I'll also skim through the next slide. So if you wouldn't mind, Jessica, ILP talked about this. They have contacts in all the spas. This looks like a lot, but don't worry, we'll send out the information so you have it. But their contact information is here along with DCFS supportive housing. And then if we can go to the next slide. Those youth CAS regional coordinators, as well as my information for you to be able to follow up on any of the information that you heard this morning. If you don't know where to start, I'm always a good place to start. I'll put my email and information in the chat. You can always connect with me and I can make sure we get you to the right person at LASA or DCFS. Right. So I just want to say thank you all for being here today. Thank you for rolling with our weird Zoom issues and the breakout rooms and for making space for this during your very, very busy days. I hope it was helpful to be able to talk about the different services that are out there, the different programs that are out there, and that it helped connect you to folks who are working in your community. We do have an evaluation form if you want to click on it, open it, just provide us some feedback about how we did today. It always helps us for next time. But I really appreciate you all being here. If you have questions, feel free to email them to me and we can also get them answered from folks who were part of this training today. So thank you so much again for being here. It was great to have you all with us, and good luck as you're supporting young people in their housing and education journeys. Thank you.